Good morning, this is Dan Wade, the Department of State Treasurer. Welcome to the August 2022 Ask Me Anything teleconference with Treasurer Folwell. This is your chance to ask him what's on your mind, and his opportunity to tell you what's on his. And with that, we'll go to the Treasurer for opening remarks.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you all for joining us. Come to you this morning with somber news of one of our sheriff's deputies being killed in the line of duty, Sergeant Matthew Fishman, and we're going to be keeping his family and that community in our thoughts and prayers throughout this meeting. We continue at the Treasurer's Office to watch the pennies and the paper clips, and in an effort to make sure that the pension and the health plan are safe and secure for all those that teach, protect, and otherwise serve. We're very pleased, as you know, to have won the being designated as #1 in the country for business outlook and stability by CNBC. That follows on being elected. Selected as #2 in the country from Rich State Poor States from the ALEC organization. And so we're pleased to be with you. There's lots to talk about, and we'll go ahead and open it up for questions.
Thank you, Treasurer Folwell. Obviously, we are in a state of recession now, and the Treasurer is going to address some topics related to that. And if any of you have any specific questions, we welcome those. For those of you who've been on the call before, you know the format. For any newcomers, pretty basic ground rules. All we ask is that you state your name and organization you're with, and there is no specific order. So with that, we'll just open it up for questions.
Hey, AP Dillon, North State Journal.
Hey, AP.
I have a question for the Treasurer. Good morning. Thank you for taking my question. The White House has sort of denied that we are actually in a recession now, even though we've met the criteria in the past for being in a recession. And I was wondering if you could explain a little bit about how this last 2 quarters have maybe impacted the pension or the state health plans, and if this continues, what might be in store in the future?
Well, AP, thank you for that question. I don't know of any statistics that the White House could be looking at that would lead them to a different conclusion than that we're in a recession. What's complicating this is the fact that we have employment numbers which are at historically high, unemployment numbers at historically low numbers. And I just have to remind everybody on this call of 2 things, which are probably 2 of the most bizarre things that we all deal with as citizens of this country. Number 1 is the unemployment numbers only include those that are able, available, and seeking employment. So if you're not seeking employment, you're not in the number. For example, I'll just tell you that I guess in 2016, I was not seeking employment. I was no longer the Assistant Secretary of Commerce. I was applying for a job to be the State Treasurer, so I wouldn't be in that number, as just a personal example. The inflationary numbers don't include food and energy. And anybody on this call can figure out how to live without food and energy, be sure to call me afterwards. And always interested in more information. I can tell you, AP, that the citizens know that things have turned down, and the citizens also know that it's costing them more than ever to drive, eat, and generally live. The average family right now is spending over $6,000 more than they spent last year. Generally speaking, you don't talk about inflation and recession in the same sentence, because a recession would indicate less demand for goods and services, which would cause the price of things to fall. That is what is making this so incredibly unique and so incredibly difficult, especially for the lower and fixed income people of our state. As far as the pension plan is concerned, we've got preliminary numbers that show that for the fiscal year, that's a 12-month period ending on June 30th, that our pension plan is down about 7%. I don't know what the benchmark number is, but if you recall, in the first quarter, our plan was down 3.5%, and our benchmark was showing that we should have been down even more than that. You know from your own 401k and 457 plans and things that you're hearing about in the press, that being down 7% for the fiscal year is a tribute to the fact that we have always focused on the pennies and the paper clips, and our investment management division have always been very conservative in the management of our pension. The Standard & Poor's for that period of time, as you may know, is down almost 20%. So we don't like being down 7%, but we like it better than being down 20%.
Thank you, Treasurer Folwell. AP, do you have any follow-up questions?
Yeah, just a quick one. I know that the LGC is meeting today. I was wondering if you could talk just a little bit about some of the top line things that are happening there. I see $1 billion financing for infrastructure for Charlotte.
Yes, we have several things on the agenda today. Obviously, we have those items that are not on our consent agenda because there's some kinds of an issue with them, what we call our FPIC units, which are on some type of plan with us, or they're behind on their audits, or they have less fund balance than we desire. We also have a consent agenda, which you just referred to, which shows us issuing nearly $1 billion, for example, for water and sewer bonds across North Carolina. And then we have the Project Grace topic on our agenda for discussion. That's the project down in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Okay, quick follow-up.
Yes.
Is the commission expected to approve that $1 billion?
I would say the answer is the staff's recommending it, and I'll be reporting that to the commission, and I expect that I'll get a motion in a second, and it'll be approved.
Okay, thank you very much.
AP, you didn't ask me this, but I do not on water and sewer issues, and I just want to state something I've said to you and all in the past. When we talk about all the infrastructure needs of our state, there's at least that amount of infrastructure needs below the ground of our state. So if somebody talks about there's needs for billions and billions of dollars of school construction needs, whatever number you hear about infrastructure above the ground, you can pretty much double it and talk about what our infrastructure needs are below the ground. Secondly, I get increasingly concerned about some of these bond referenda, even if they are voter approved. For example, in Guilford County, I believe it's a $1.7 billion school bond, and that school bond is going to be about the amount of state debt that's going to be outstanding 3 years from now, general obligation debt. So here you have one school bond in one county, just that one bond, not including all the other debt that's outstanding, for example, in Guilford County, equal to the entire outstanding general obligation debt for the whole state of North Carolina just 3 years from now.
Okay, thank you,
Treasurer
Treasurer.
Folwell, this is Laura Leslie from WRA. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great.
A couple questions for you on inflation, recession, et cetera. First off, can you talk at all about the impact that you expect inflation to have on state health plans? Do we expect employees to have to start contributing more, or are we expecting to see that
Yeah. Laura, it's a great question, and it goes right to the situation that we're facing in healthcare. Healthcare now owns North Carolina, and now Big Wall Street owns healthcare. And we're talking about a product that people would rather not consume because that would mean they're healthy. And we are very concerned about the increase in costs associated with healthcare. Because when I reported earlier that the average family is spending $6,000 more a year to live, that means that every time there's an increased copay or increased deductible, that hits them right in the wallet. I will tell you that we have preliminarily approved the premiums for next year, and for the 5th straight year, we did not increase family premiums. We have frozen them. I'm disappointed in that because I've wanted to lower family premiums. Just because I freeze the price of an expensive car doesn't mean I can afford to drive it or maintain it. We want to lower family premiums because we think there's a high degree of uninsured people who are the spouses and children of state employees who may avail themselves of a family premium if it's cheaper. So when we look at this from an insurance company standpoint, that means we have younger, healthier people on the plan to offset people like me. And at the end of the day, healthcare costs work through the system when contracts start to be renegotiated next year. So I'm deeply concerned about these contracts being renegotiated upward. I'm very concerned, as I've said in the past, that the state health plan is going to need over $5 billion more incremental dollars over the next several years in order for it to remain solvent. And this is part of something, Laura, you've heard me talk about for over 12 years, is the unfunded healthcare liability, because when you're on a pay-go plan, eventually you have to pay in order to go. And we're actually facing that right now. But we've done all that we can. Our Medicare Advantage product is a zero premium and will continue to be that for nearly 5 years. No cost to the member, a $4 a month cost to the dependent, no cost to the taxpayer. We've saved nearly $1 billion on our pharmacy benefit management contract, which we're very excited about. But as long as the healthcare cartel in North Carolina continues to boycott those that teach, protect, and serve, and being unwilling to negotiate at a profit margin of almost over 100% profit. These are nonprofits for over Medicare reimbursement rates. We will continue to see the inflation that you asked about in your question, and we're deeply concerned about it.
Can I go back to something for a follow-up? You mentioned $6,000 is what it's costing a family in addition this year compared to last year. Can you tell me, number one, where those numbers came from and sort of what basket of goods and services does that include?
That is a great and fair question. As you know, I get a lot of stimuli that comes through me about things that have to do with money. I've heard it on a couple of different occasions. It could have come from the federal government, but by lunch, we will have you the answer to that question.
That's great. Thank you very much. And one more on a different topic. As I'm sure you know, with inflation spiking, a lot of the folks who are on state pensions are calling for a cost of living increase. And they haven't had, a repeating increase many, many years. What is it going to take for them to be able to get more, an increase in their pension?
Another great question. The pension plan over the last 20 years has faced unprecedented pressure. I will not be getting political or emotional about this, but I'll be getting highly mathematical over the next few minutes. I'm wearing former Treasurer Harlan Bowles' lapel pin this morning. When he left this office in January of 2001, this plan was 110% funded. My wife Cynthia says don't use percentages that are above 100, but that means it had every dollar it needed, plus it had 10 pennies on top of that dollar. As soon as Treasurer Moore was elected, our country was attacked on 9/11, and the stock market was closed, and the pension plan lost billions of dollars. Treasurer Moore did not have a damn thing to do with 9/11. Treasurer Moore worked for 8 years to get the plan back up to a decent funding level, and then when Treasurer Cowell got elected, she was hit with a great financial crisis, and the plan lost tens of billions of dollars. Treasurer Cowell had nothing to do with the great financial crisis. I have to remind everyone that when you lose 25% of your money, just to be even again, you have to make 33% on your money. But it's even worse for our pension plan because we're spending this year on a gross level nearly $7 billion for benefits. So you don't have to just make 33% because you're sending money out every 30 days. You've got to make more than 33%. So let's go back to your question. In the law of North Carolina, we cannot authorize a cost of living adjustment if there are no statutory investment gains. We have one of the best funded pension plans in the United States, if not the world, but there are no statutory investment gains inside the plan because of these two events that previous treasurers had nothing to do with, and there's no way they could have inoculated themselves against it. I am very aware of the challenges that our pensioners are facing as their costs continue to go up. But I'll also tell you that since Treasurer Bowles left this office, interest rates went to 0.5%. People started retiring earlier than ever before. And the other blessing is that people are living longer than ever before. So our inability to do anything on this particular topic is limited not by our heart, but by the mathematics that I just mentioned to you. I do want to remind you that the General Assembly just did a bonus to the retirees in the teaser's plan, the largest, I believe, in the last quarter of a century in the state of North Carolina. So that has been appropriated, that has been signed off on, and we're in the process of paying that out this fall. And the second thing is that lower interest rates are a blessing for our economy, whether you're buying a house or investing in your mine or buying a car. People being able to retire early and make an individual decision is a blessing to them. And obviously increased life expectancies are a blessing to everyone. But this pension plan was never designed for interest rates to be this low, people to retire this early, and people to live this long. And Laura, I'll say this to you specifically. We are now in a situation for the first time in our state's history where there are less people paying into our pension systems than are not. And secondly, for the females in our state that join the local or the state system, they are now actuarially expected for the first time in state history to draw more retirement checks than paychecks. And that's why, and lastly, with the money that was paid for the supplement to the retirees this year did not come from the pension plan. It was a direct appropriation from the General Assembly. It did not come from the pension plan. And lastly, I say, we have, before I became the treasurer, the previous treasurer entered into an ECRISP agreement to kind of put additional money into the pension plan at the state and the local level to get us back up to a decent funded level associated with the drawdowns that occurred after 9/11 and the drawdowns that occurred after the great financial crisis. In that agreement with the local governments, the city, that's the County Commissioner Association and the League of Municipalities, we cannot, there's no statutory investment gains in the local pension system either. And secondly, we cannot authorize or recommend a COLA because that would be in violation of the agreement that was entered into before I became the treasurer. Oh, and lastly, Moody's, for a family of four, the number is $5,915. That came from Moody's bond rating and analytics investment services.
Thank you, Laura. We'll open up for questions from others.
I think she went to get some coffee after that.
I thought. But what is the statutory investment gain, and what does that mean in plain English?
In plain English is you cannot pay out a COLA if it reduces the fundedness of the plan. So when Treasurer Bowles was the treasurer, and I told you earlier the plan was 110% funded, that means that there were statutory investment gains because he had 10 pennies more than he would ever need. So at that point in time, there were statutory investment gains. And now they're not because of 9/11 and the great financial crisis, and to some extent, COVID.
Okay. So we'll open up for questions from others. We don't want to miss anyone, so if you have another question, now's the time. Otherwise, we'll go to closing remarks with the treasurer.
I want to thank all of you for joining today. I know that especially on the explanation about the pension system, that was a very long explanation, but I want to let you know how serious this subject is. And I appreciate everybody on this call and members of the media in general in partnering with us to get the right facts out on these important topics. And lastly, since we last met, we have reported smashing all records out of nccash.com. Nearly $105 million went out of nccash.com in the last fiscal year. And but for our partnership with the media, who helps us get the word out to prompt people to go to nccash.com, I don't think we would have been as successful as we were this year. Our outflow out of nccash.com was up 45% over the previous year. We hope that we can even, we will be breaking that record this year, but even have a possible another 25 or 30% increase of things coming out of nccash.com. So all of you who have done stories on nccash.com, all of you who have come out and covered, for example, in Asheville the other day, WLOS came out and covered us presenting $13,000 to an alcohol rehabilitation living center down in Asheville, North Carolina, or the Hope House in Chapel Hill, or the $11,000 to the March of Dimes in Wilmington, or the $5,000 to the little town of Montreat, North Carolina. Thank you all for all the part that you play in getting the word out about nccash.com. Final questions?
Okay. If there are no other questions, we'll go ahead and close. Just a reminder that the local government commission meeting will be at 1:30 today, and you can call in to listen to that. There'll be a lot of items on that agenda. Thank you very much.